Hello, Rank Squad, and welcome to Ranks FC on YouTube. We're here to try something new today. We're going to try a tier list. It's all very exciting. My name is Jack Collins, and I'll be your host today. And giving us what I'm sure will be not controversial whatsoever way through these centre backs. It's the rank of Mr. Sam Tai. How you doing, mate?
Yeah, dressed in luminous green, try and stand out from the crowd, I was always told. And that's what we're going to try and do today here on YouTube by putting together a tier list, something we haven't done before, but I don't see regularly done, but I do think is a very, very valuable exercise, particularly in a live environment. And yeah, I mean, look, I've taken some steps here to try and avoid as much controversy as possible. But at the end of the day, we're saying which player is better than which. It's always going to generate something, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I think it's important that we kind of set out the rules before we get into this. And the key, I think, to that is the idea of it's based on this season. This is going to be on this season. Obviously, you have to look to a point to history in order to see how this works. But generally, I think what we're looking at here is trying to rank these centre backs based on their performances this season rather than what they've been worth over the last 5, shall we say.
Yeah, you can basically make the argument one or two ways. Typically, how good is the player or how good have they been this season? We want to focus on this season because that's more fun, that's more current. As you'll see when we bring up the tier list, we've got a little section, to consider some of the other elements and consider some of the players that have been historically very good, but maybe not quite so good right now. But I have basically picked up every single centre-back in the Premier League this season that has made 10 or more starts. If you've not made 10, you're not in the list, and we're going to try and flick through them. That's the only qualifier I can give you. It does mean that we're missing a couple players, which we can maybe discuss at the end.
Aymeric Laporte, I don't believe.
Laporte has 9, I think. 9 starts, yeah. So he won't be there. Harry Maguire, not there. Probably good for me, that. Benoit Badiashile obviously hasn't played 10 games since joining in mid-January. So there's a few that we can maybe discuss at the end. But for now, this is 10 plus starts, everyone in.
Okay. All right. I'd like to just start with this from Colin, who says, can we just cut to the chase and put Nathan Collins at the top?
The guy who's been dropped from Wolves' starting 11. Sure, that make sense. Come on.
Indeed. Right, let's get into this, shall we? And let's get the tier list up. We'll walk through it. That's not the what I was trying to do. There we go. There are 6 tiers, although this could change depending on how we get through this. I'm sure if you want to have your say about where there should be another tier, maybe just one for Tim Ream out on his own at the top. That's what we'll get to. But we're going for world class, having a good season. What's going on? Solid, young with potential, and not quite cutting it this year. They're the categories, Sam. Should we get stuck into this and see how we get on? And we're starting with Sven Botman, who I called prior to the season as potentially my signing of the year.
I was a bit confused by that, but to be fair to you, he's been absolutely superb, hasn't he? Absolutely superb. So I think we can probably safely agree that Sven Botman is having a good season and he goes into that second tier.
Okay. All right, so he's going in here. This is all very exciting and all very new. Sven Botman in there. I think that's probably spot on, right? Like, he's clearly not really world class yet, but I think he's more than solid. I think he's been very, very impressive and a massive part of Newcastle's campaign. And so much of that campaign has been based on a steady defensive line. That's important. So good start there. And we go to Craig Dawson, who I always call Matt Dawson, which is the name of the old England rugby scrum half who's often on the telly.
You've been watching too much Question of Sport, mate.
Sport host, but this is very much Craig Dawson, who joined Wolverhampton Wanderers from West Ham United in January. I think we're all pretty solid here in terms of where we're going to stick him.
He is the epitome of solid. Absolutely 100% solid. So reliable. You wanted to call this tier never lets you down. I said that was too dangerous because defenders can make mistakes at any time. But to be fair to you, Craig Dawson will never, ever let you down. Ever. So this is a really nice pickup for Wolves. And I think he goes straight into that solid tier.
Yeah, I agree. This is a good question from Treasure. I'm going to bring it up here. It says, does horizontal order matter? As in, is a centre-back on the left of a tier better than one on the right? I think
Well,
think
hang
we
on.
could do this.
Jack's
We hadn't
already.
thought this, but I'm into it. I'm into it. We can make this work.
Jack was quite nervous about the mechanics of this heading into the first ever stream. We've never done this before. So if you're looking to add even more to his play and make him feel even more uncomfortable, I am fully on board with this. And Jack, if we want to, we can try to make this work and say on the left is the best and filter down towards the right. I'm more than happy to try that.
Okay, all right, we'll try and make that work. There's a couple of other questions in here as well. While we're at it, Frederick says, what about players who are maybe decent but look horrible because of the tactical setups from their manager? As an example, I doubt Wout Faes is as bad as Rodgers' high line makes him look. Look, we're based on this season, right? So it's going to unfortunately pay out, but I think we can make a point of saying that this isn't all their fault.
Yeah. Also, we've got the what's going on tier, which is kind of designed for maybe situations like this. I may not necessarily agree with the example, but we'll come through to a few and over the course of this list where we'll just say, well, this isn't just really them, is it? So we'll just kind of give them a bit of a pass. So yeah, we've tried to account for that.
Okay. All right. Let's get back into it. And next up, Nathan RK. Sam, where do you fancy putting Nathan?
I think Nathan Ake has been Man City's best centre-back this season. Would you disagree?
No, I would not disagree with that statement.
But he is not world-class. So stick him in next to Sven Botman.
Yeah, but the question is he on Sven Botman's left or Sven Botman's right? Is he having a better year than Sven Botman? I think the answer is probably no.
I don't think he's been better than Sven Botman. I think they've both been grand, but Botman trumps him for me.
Okay. All right. Let's keep rolling. Onto Joachim Andersen, former Fulham hero. Where would you have Joachim Andersen?
Now, this is the first difficult one because it's obviously between solid and having a good season. I'm not 100% sure on reflection if he's up there with Ake and Botman in terms of a level. What do you think?
No, I would have had him in solid, but ahead of Craig, Matt, Dawson.
Yeah, I'll go with that.
Okay.
On the left of Dawson.
There's 48 or something centre backs to get through here, so we should probably keep this rolling. Yeah. And we'll go on to Wout Faes, who was obviously brought up by Frederick in that example. Where do you stand on Wout Faes? I think he's probably all right.
Bottom tier for me.
Really? Wow.
I'm not there. A Leicester fan, one of my friends recently described him as a catfish. Like you initially think he's pretty good and then actually turns out he's not. And like I see a very reckless player there. I see a bit of a headless chicken at times. Obviously, it's not all his fault, as the comment made clear. A lot of these Leicester players are underperforming, but yeah, some players you watch and you're just like, I don't like it. It's something you can't get on board with. Wout Faes is something I can't get on board with.
Yeah, I was trying to work out if he'd be young enough to go into the young with potential category. He's 24 years old. Probably it's a stretch, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean that is young, but like I remember watching Wout Faes play in the UEFA Youth League years and years ago. Like while he is young, he has been in and around first team setups for a while. So he's not actually that young. No, look, you can veto it if you want. If you feel really strongly, but
we can move people retrospectively. I think that's important to kind of put in here.
Okay.
There's another question here from Kate who says, "How are you accounting for team quality?"
I mean,
as best we can, Kate, is probably the answer I'd go with.
Team quality to an extent informs player form, so it's an absolutely fair point and fair question. I think we'll probably see that generally represented through the tiers, almost like unconsciously or subconsciously there, because it will just be that, Botman and Ake, their teams are doing really well this season. Wolves and Palace, they're okay. Leicester have had a bit of a disappointing season. Look at the 5 we already have there, and it almost represents the league table in some ways. So I guess it just kind of gets packed in naturally, but maybe there will be some exceptions here and there. I mean, I think we definitely will have a few where we're like, well, their team has been rubbish, but he has been excellent.
Well, here's one. Armel Bella-Kotchap.
Yeah. Whenever he plays, he looks great. But he has been injured. His team have been really poor. And I don't know if you've seen him recently, Jack, but he's running out onto the pitch and he's got so much strapping over his thighs. Like it's like they rebuild him in midweek to get him ready for Saturday. And then
not in the kind of Erling Haaland, not in the kind of Erling Haaland, you're a robot Terminator machine kind of feel. It's very like, oh, we've put this together with nuts and bolts.
100%. Yeah, it looks like he's like made of paper mache at certain points. So I would put him in with young with potential, because he just hasn't quite been present enough, I would say, to genuinely say like these guys are having a good season. Like I just couldn't put him alongside those two at the top.
Okay. All right. Ben Davies at Tottenham Hotspur.
Solid.
Yeah. I mean, I'd be tempted to go here. I think actually, in terms of Spurs players this season, I've really, really liked Ben Davies, probably ahead of anyone else. Like obviously Romero gets headlines because he likes doing mad things. I think Ben Davies is just such a reliable footballer. And I suppose that probably puts him top of the solid carry. I agree. I do think he is having a good season.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I would have gone top of the solid. So if we can agree that for now, that's fine.
Okay. We might have to move Ben Davies, but he for now is going in there at the top of the solid category. And it takes us to Ben Mee. And I know we're going to disagree on this.
Solid.
Yeah, no chance. I think Ben Mee's having a really, really good season. He's stepped in there. He's keeping Chris Aya out of the team, who I really like. And look, it obviously pains me to put Brentford players into top categories as a Fulham fan. But I think it would be unfair based on what Ben Mee has put together on the pitch this season to not have him in the having a good season category.
Okay. Well, yeah. If it's you singing the praises of a Brentford player, let's stick him on the right of Ake.
Okay. All right. Let's keep rolling. And into Connor Cody. Strange one. Again, thought this was a good signing at the time.
Well, yeah, at the time when they were playing a back three and he was in the middle of it. They've obviously converted now to Dyche's back four. Some players are thriving in that more than others. Cody is doing okay. I don't think he's really been that good. I mean, I might be tempted to say put him in the what's going on territory. What do you think? First edition there?
Yeah, although
is that generous? Is that generous?
It might be, and I think the reason is that are we coming to the end of his kind of arc of where he's been at the peak of his powers? So I thought he was brilliant at Wolves for a long, long time, and what's going on is maybe what's going on. Like I think these are questions where they're unanswerable. They're injury hit, or they're in a system that completely and utterly doesn't suit them, and we know that there's better. But I'm just kind of under the impression that we might just be seeing the end of Connor Cody's powers. And
he's not that old, mate.
Also fine.
It's a bit early to be calling the curtain on his career. How old
I'm
is
not calling the
like
curtain.
28 or 29 or something.
I'm just saying that there's a certain... All right, here he goes. He goes into what's going on for now, but I'm
also feeling that might be a bit generous, but we'll revisit it.
I'm also not sure about this. Is quite a weird category. What's going on? Obviously, it's kind of in the middle here because you expect players who are really good but having bad seasons to be in there, and actually sometimes it feels almost harsh to have it above solid in the ranking list. If you know what I mean? I don't think that Connor Cody is having a better season than Ben Davies whatsoever, but I could just drop it to there. But then it's going to look quite weird if I don't want to break anyone. Yeah, I don't want to break anyone. But like, if a really wonderful centre back is in there and who's had a bad injury hit season, is it harsh to put them in? What's going on? It's a
cross that bridge when we come to it, Jack. Leave it there for now, and let's
Treasure did highlight this in the comments. So okay, let's stick with that for now. Daniel Amartey,
bottom tier.
Sam threatened at the start of this to just put a tier for Daniel Amartey, and I refused because I thought that was incredibly harsh for someone who always puts it in. But it's a struggle, isn't it, to kind of look at this and be like, yeah, this is going to work.
There is an argument that Wout Faes belongs in one of the two tiers above him, but there is no argument really here for Daniel Amartey to go anywhere other than he's not really good enough to play centre-back at Premier League level, particularly in a back four. It's not all his fault.
He wasn't a centre-back, was he? He was a utility player.
He was never a centre-back. He was a right back, right mid, centre mid, wing back, whatever. Yeah, he's not doing it.
Okay, all right, in he goes, which takes us to Mark Gay. We had a question from Clay Morgan here about how good is Mark Gay? Are Crystal Palace getting the best out of him? I don't know, is the truth of the matter.
The second season hasn't been as good as the first, has it? Solid.
Above or below Joachim Andersen?
Oh, I don't know. That's really tough. What's your instinct telling you?
My instinct's telling me that Joachim Andersen and Mark Gay are pretty similar in
Yeah.
terms of level, and therefore this probably doesn't matter all that much. But
Okay.
my instinct is to put him above Joachim Andersen, and I could be wrong. I could be
I
wrong.
feel like he may have been more present this season than Joachim Andersen, and that probably gives him an edge.
Yeah, Palace have been mid-table, I suppose, is the kicker on this, right? That's the thing. They've both been fine. Issa Diop signed from West Ham to Fulham last summer, has taken Tosin Adarabioyo out of the team. I would say that he probably belongs in the lower reaches of having a good season.
I think he's been really good, hasn't he? Really, really good. Just like physical presence, great from set pieces, nuts and bolts defending. I'll always remember with Diop, it's like I'll always remember the Mourinho quote. Do you remember when Man United played West Ham and he said, "Congrats to the scout who found Issa Diop." And it's like, you know, in terms of like the penalty box defending and just like the raw mechanics of defending, like there are very few better. The only question for me has always been just injury concerns and stuff, but I think he's having a huge impact. So I'm happy with where he is.
Okay. All right. Let's go to Ruben Dias
of God.
Manchester United. Manchester City. There you are. There's the first rager. Yeah. Oh, I don't know. Is he just top of what's going on?
Yeah,
this
100%.
is where it gets tricky. Like,
no, this is exactly what this entire category is for.
Right.
That is where he belongs.
Can we talk through Ruben Dias's season? Because this is tricky.
I mean, he's not really been a massive factor post World Cup, has he? I don't really know what happened, but it felt like all the Portuguese players at Manchester City came back from the World Cup and dropped a level or two. And he did have an injury in the first half of the season. You know, cast it back to last season, he was like very clearly the leader and the organizer of this defense. He was like very, very important to them. I don't know if it's a mixture of the injury, the drop in form, and, you know, system tweaks, but it feels like he's become less and less important to Manchester City over the last 3 to 4 months. Sometimes I think that's the right call, and there are other games where I come out of it and think, that probably wasn't worth moving away from him.
Yeah, it's a strange one. He's obviously brilliant, but it just feels like he's a little bit all over the place. Hugo says he didn't show up in the World Cup either, which I think is probably a fair point.
He wasn't good in the World Cup. He just wasn't.
No, I think, you know, obviously when you're kind of next to the 39-year-old Pepper, who's dominating still and having a really good season domestically himself, you're expected to kind of be the guy in that defense, and he just wasn't. So I'm okay with, I think, putting out here based on this season. I think that's a fair reflection of where he is.
He's a better centre back than all of the players we have in having a good season, but he's had a worse season than all of them. So there's your complex, and that's why we have that yellow category.
Okay. All right. Let's go to Arsenal, and let's go with Gabriel Magalhaes, which is obviously a nice mouthful in terms of how you say it. There'll be a lot of people demanding this goes in world class. I think he's probably just top of having a good season for me.
Agreed. He is. We cannot be calling Gabriel world class. As good a season as he's had.
Yes, I think is the key kicker on that, right?
Potentially.
Like, I think that there is definitely the potential to be in that category, but I don't think it's there yet.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's a wonderful box defender. I agree, you know, with some of these things, but there's still a moment for a silly mistake. And then there are games like the game at the weekend where he was completely and utterly dominant. Yeah. And so you kind of have this kind of dichotomy where, you know, he's getting better and better, but I don't think it'd be fair to put him in world class just yet.
No way. Can't call him world class. I mean, look, the definition of world class, it changes from person to person. Some people are more lenient with it. We try to be less lenient where possible because I think it is a very special term, a special moniker. And Gabriel, not quite there.
Okay. There are a couple of comments on that one. Luke says world class. Hugo says good season. Colin says Botman's had a better season for me. And Luke says he's at least best of everyone in that category. So far, I would agree with you, Luke. Just about. He edges Botman for me, but they've both had very, very impressive seasons. Let's go to Eric Dyer, Sam. Where's he going in?
Oh, man, Eric Dyer. He's a difficult one to judge. I think he gets some unfair criticism at times. I think there are times when fans see him stepping out of the defensive line and being super aggressive and pushing into midfield and failing to either pin or trap his player or dispossess him. And then there's a big space that he leaves. And then obviously teams go and score or counterattack and people go, look at Dyer. What's he doing? Why is he charging around? I think it's by design. I think the back three allows you to do that. And when you play in the middle, you're allowed to be aggressive. And the problem for him is he's not quite effective enough at that job. But him stepping out and chasing that ball and putting pressure, it's by design, I think. So, like, I personally believe that Eric Dyer, who has played most games for a Tottenham team in the top four hunt, should be in solid, basically around the Ben Davies marker. I don't think he should be in what's going on, and I don't think he's in the lower tier either.
Yeah, I think that's probably fair. I don't think there's been all that much wrong, but I don't know if there's more to jump up there either from Dyer. Whereas I think that maybe Davies is a little bit unlucky not to be at the bottom of the having a good season category. So there's my kind of lie on it. We had a couple of questions going back, so we're gonna track back for a second back to the other discussions. Billy says, is there an argument that Botman's had a better season than Gabriel? Less goals conceded, more clean sheets, less goals per game. I think that Botman has had all these things. I also think that Newcastle are just slightly more kind of defensively minded than the way that Arsenal play, and therefore the team, we're going back to what Kate said really early on. The team probably lends itself to that a little bit more. Not a low block. I'm not saying that, Billy. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying that in terms of the way that they're set up, in terms of the way that Newcastle look, and the fact that, you're looking at these more clean sheets, less goals conceded. You're looking at
these are team metrics.
Exactly. And Nick Pope is behind him. We're not ranking Premier League goalkeepers right now, but I would imagine that Nick Pope, if we were, would be above Aaron Ramsdale.
Yeah, of course. It's a team metric. It's a fair point, and like we've got them left. They're touching shoulders, man. This is the partnership right now. These are the top two players on the list. I don't think there's too much between them, but I'd go Gabriel, and I'd say that the stats are fine, but it's a team metric, so it can't be the only thing we go on.
Okay, all right. Let's keep rolling, and we're into Thilo Kehrer, which is a tricky one in terms of where it goes, because there were points this season where Kehrer looked absolutely clueless. He has improved since then. I will give him that. But there were some real tough moments for Thilo Kehrer.
Yeah, I don't like Kehrer playing wide. Whenever he gets foisted into the fullback position, I think he really struggles, and that's happened at West Ham. That's happened everywhere really that he's been. I'd love to be able to put him in young with potential, but he's not. He's just not that young anymore, is he? Kehrer's been around for a while. So if we can't put Wout Fast there, like I've got to say, I'm looking at that bottom tier. He's top of it,
top of the bottom tier.
But I maybe there's a West Ham fan out there that can tell me that I'm wrong and that I've missed his good performances, but he has not filled me with confidence, and he's been a pretty regular feature in a West Ham team that every time I watch them are awful, almost always.
Okay, all right. Well, Thilo Kehrer is currently going in at the bottom, the top of the bottom tier, but he might be ousted here because it's time for some Leeds players, and the next up is Robin Koch.
I mean, can you lead this one? I think we should create a separate tier called "Easy to Forget Exists."
I think.
I don't have the words for it.
I think the problem is that Leeds have been defensively catastrophic for quite a lot of this year, which hasn't helped. But I think Koch came in with high expectations. When they signed him, there was a lot of excitement around the Leeds fan base. And I don't think he's really ever lived up to said expectations.
Yeah, which is pointing me towards just ahead of Kehrer in the bottom tier. With a bit of a heavy heart, because I think he is actually... there's the bones of a good player in there, but I just don't ever really see it.
No, partly that's to do with Leeds, and it's all of those ones. This cat guy says we need a separate bottom tier. That one's going to be overflowing, so maybe we'll add that in later. Right, let's go to Liverpool, and I'm sure there's going to be plenty of questionable decisions in here, or questionable or controversial, I should say. Questionable is probably a bit of a stretch. But Ibou Konate starts us off. Where's he going?
Interesting. Because he is definitely, whenever he plays, having a good season. Does he play enough to qualify?
He's got 10 starts. He's got 10 starts. He's qualified for the list. So that's the
True. He's definitely young with potential because he's young and has lots of potential, but he's probably too good for that tier.
Yeah.
So I'd say off a limited sample, because he does get injured, I think he probably has to go in having a good season.
Or top of the solid category.
Solid is harsh though, because he's a genuinely very, very impactful player for Liverpool, and they look much weaker without him, I think. So I think he has to qualify above solid.
Okay. All right. He goes bottom of having a good season.
That might be harsh too.
Yeah, it's hard. Okay, right. It's we've got someone in every category now apart from world class, but we're about to change that. Because next up on this list is Tim Ream. Look, obviously I'm mostly messing, but Tim Ream, I'm mostly messing, but I think generally Tim Ream's performances this season have been stunning. He has been absolutely faultless in Fulham's charge to the top tier. He's not in this world-class category. As we said earlier, there aren't many in there. But I think he's at least there.
Oh, well, I'd say that's his absolute ceiling rather than his floor. But I actually can't think of a better place for him. I think that's literally his spot. Ever present, more or less, more so than Ake. Better than Ben Mee, but not on Botman and Gabriel's level. Yeah, I think you've nailed it. The second time around, not the first one.
Yeah, I mean, and TJ says Tim Ream carried the USMNT out of the group in the World Cups. It's a very good point. But we are working mostly in the Premier League. Yeah, all right, Will from the in-betweeners. Let's go onwards. And let's talk about Aston Villa. Shall we, Sam?
Right, we've got Konsa there.
Yes, we do.
Solid. Bottom of the solid list.
Okay, that's quite low.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of Konsa's, as you know, but I don't think he's been that good this season. I think there have been frailties, and he's not that good with the ball. And now he's playing in a system that demands that playing out from the back and through the lines. He's actually kind of struggling with it. Maybe there's an argument that he's been better than Craig Dawson, but Dawson's played for two separate clubs, so it's quite hard to compare. No, I think I'd put him there.
Okay,
I think he's been all right.
I think that's fine. I think that is absolutely fine. Let's come onwards and let's go to Kalidou Koulibaly at Chelsea. He's probably going here, isn't he?
Yeah.
We're aware of what Kalidou Koulibaly can do, and he's been better of late. Given that, I think he's improved of late. He's settled into this side a little bit more. But generally, I think that it's been a major letdown from where Chelsea expected him to be and where he's actually come into this team at. And I don't know what it is, because I fundamentally believe that Kalidou Koulibaly is a really, really good player. But I think that you can argue, there's a point here from Simply Alex. He says Koulibaly isn't cutting it for me. I think the thing with the not quite cutting it this season is that I don't know if any of those players can cut it. I'm pretty sure that Kalidou Koulibaly can. And so therefore, I'd be tempted to put him bottom of this category so far, in that I just can't work out exactly what's going on with Kalidou Koulibaly.
Yeah, we've got like a huge body of evidence of him, playing very good football at the top level of European football. Like we've seen him play and dominate Mohamed Salah. When Napoli have played Liverpool in the past, we've seen him play extremely well over multiple seasons for Napoli. We don't have that same body of evidence for Thilo Kehrer or Wout Faes. So I'm going to use a Dean Jones phrase here, and I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt and leave him basically where you've put him. I don't think we can be as disrespectful and put him in that bottom tier.
Okay. All right. Clement Longley.
Boring. One of a couple of players here, I'm just like, he's been all right. Yeah, below Konsa.
below Conser.
He's
Yeah,
all right.
I think he's been fine.
He's all right. Yeah,
It's a
that'll do.
strange one. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Who's next?
Who's next? Okay. All right. It's Lewis Dunk.
Having a good season.
Is he having a better season than Nathan RK?
I was thinking, is he having a better season than Ben Mee? So we're in the same sort of area.
Are we tempted to go sort of here-ish?
Yeah, me too. Me too. I like between the two. Why not?
All right. Okay, fair enough. Frederick said, I think Longley has been the worst Spurs defender whenever I've watched him, unless Romero's getting himself sent off. But yes, I think generally, I think he's probably the weakest link of the three at the back for Spurs, and that's a fair point. We go to Liam Cooper, Leeds captain, who I don't mind, don't mind.
He's all right. Have we reached the all right bit of the list?
Yeah, I think so.
Again, it's hard to really extrapolate Liam Cooper poor form from Leeds. They try to always play him because he's the captain. He has injury issues. I guess. How do you put this? Do you rationalize it in your brain as, well, ideally they'd upgrade from him. Ideally they would. So he's not cutting it.
But I think ideally they would, but actually he wouldn't be the first person he'd upgrade Koch first, because I think Cooper is a far more solid defender, and therefore I actually think he goes bottom of solid for me.
Okay, let's do that for now, and then
we might have to move him.
We'll see how we feel about it.
I don't think that Longley is having an all that much better season than Cooper. That's how I would put it. Even though Spurs are much higher up in the table than Leeds, I think Cooper has been one of the best players, or the best defenders at Leeds, and Longley has been one of the worst at Spurs. So that's probably where I'm sitting on it. And it takes us on to Lisandro Martinez, who is a World Cup and Carabao Cup winner. We should remind ourselves.
The double in its purest form. Having a good season.
Very much so.
Just depends on whether he's having a better season than basically the first four names on this list. I'd say he's definitely above Dunk. He's definitely above Ake. I'd say he's probably.
There's a lot of world class shouts in the comments. I think he's
that's too much.
He's not going in world class.
No,
he's not there yet.
No, we're not having that at the moment. We do like him.
We're big fans, and we were big defenders when this was made, right? When this signing was made, that was a good move, fitted thing, and I'm glad to see him doing well. I think he's there.
Yes, I think he is too. I think that's fair. He's not in the top tier just yet. I love the fact that Man United fans love him. I love the fact that they're getting carried away. It's absolutely what you need to be doing about your players in form. But yeah, he's
growing.
Right.
He's growing into it. It's really, Alex says he got slaughtered early in the season, growing into world class. Cat Guy says world class potential, which I think is probably the best way of putting it.
Yes,
very much. That's where he's at. I think he's on the way. He's on the way there.
Yes,
but I don't think he's quite there yet. Right, Joel Matip.
Is it a what's going on?
Bang, straight in there. It just doesn't feel like it's clicked. I feel like this is going to be a common thread at Liverpool, isn't it?
I think so too. Yeah. Look, I think Matip has been absolutely awesome. Absolutely great. Yeah, at times. Love his dribbles out the back. Love his threaded passes. Gets on the end of stuff. He and Van Dijk are an amazing partnership for a long time. I do think, though, that Liverpool look better when Konate can partner Van Dijk. And they might just be on the verge of sort of shifting there. So it might be that a couple of years ago, Joel Matip is sat there top of the having a good season campaign. Right now, in line with some Liverpool struggles, some tactical issues, and his own slight decline. Yeah, I think we've got him about right there.
Okay, all right. Let's go to Lloyd Kelly, who has been stripped of the Bournemouth captaincy, and I think that probably is it.
Stripped is harsh.
Well, they've given it to someone else when he was the captain, so he's been stripped of the Bournemouth captaincy.
But you know, there's different scenario. You can have the captaincy revoked, removed, taken off you, but stripped is he's been injured, so they took it off him and they gave it to a goalkeeper. who's been there 6 months. Yeah, no,
It's not great. It's not great, is it?
I can't get behind it. I would still put him above Kehrer though.
Yeah, yeah, I agree.
You can't go above Koch, I don't think.
No, he's fine. I did really have high hopes for Lloyd Kelly, but he's getting older and he's not getting all that much better. He's not, fine.
Yeah. I think he's one of those players that, because no one could figure out if he was a left back or a centre back for about 4 years, he stagnated pretty heavily, and that can happen to players, and it's tough. He's a victim of versatility, I should say. Versatility is not a word, and maybe this season a few of his own injuries.
Okay, let's go to Nottingham Forest. Should we do them all? Should we do them both at once? Let's do Forest together. Let's do Scott McKenna.
Not cutting it.
But where? Above Koch?
No.
Above Kelly?
Yeah. No? Okay. What do you think?
I don't know. I feel like Forest are better than both Leeds and Bournemouth.
Yeah, true.
But yeah, it's tricky, isn't it? It's tricky. I think Joe Worrell goes higher than this.
Agreed.
Joe Worrell either goes into young with potential or towards the bottom of solid. I like Worrell more than I like McKenna.
Is Worrell young enough to be in the young category? Joseph Worrell is 26, so no.
No.
So I think he goes bottom of solid. He's really important for Forest.
He's too old to be in young potential, so he's going up 2 tiers.
He's important to Forest. It has been anyway. And obviously they've started to move.
I'm going to put him above Cooper.
Okay, yeah, no, do that. Yeah, that's fine. They've started to move past McKenna a little bit, I think. Because obviously Felipe's come in, who's played two games, so he can't be in this list. But that I think we need to accurately represent that. I think they want to move on from McKenna, but they're pretty happy to keep rolling with Worrell. So that's what we've done.
Okay. All right. Let's go to Trevor Chalobah, who still plays for Chelsea. I struggle with this a little bit, and part of this is because I just don't know where his best position is and if he is just a real aggressive system player.
He was great at right centre-back, wasn't he, for Tuchel?
Yeah.
And then post-Tuchel, you're right, he's kind of struggled to find a role. It doesn't seem like Chelsea currently have too much faith in him because they keep buying players that play in either of his positions.
Yeah.
He's not really had a massive impact on the season, but I wouldn't put him in the bottom tier.
He's 23, which I think is just about young enough to be in young with potential. So
good compromise.
I think he goes at the bottom of that tier for now.
Good compromise.
I don't think his potential is quite as much as Bella Kotchap's is. I really like Bella Kotchap and what he can bring to the table. But that's where I'm going to stick Trev in. Which takes us on to Raphael Varane, who I think might be the first person in the top category.
I agree. You have to earn it. You have to deserve it. And Raphael Varane has certainly done that over the course of his career. And
then he's put together a really good season here.
Yeah, 18 months at United, bit up and down in the first season. But he's been excellent. And, world class is not a term that we can throw around lightly. And I think in the case of someone like Gabriel or someone like Lisandro, I think we would be using it too lightly. But with Varane, with his career history and with his form and his importance to this team, I think we can safely say this guy belongs in the world-class category.
Okie dokie. Right, so then that was good. We didn't have to have an argument. Let's go to Max Kilman, who I really like.
Yeah, he's definitely having a good season.
How good? That good? That good? That good?
I think below Dunk, definitely.
That good?
It's either side of Diop. I don't know which way.
Let's put him in there.
Okay.
I mean,
like, you can't escape the fact that Wolves have spent like the entire season like in the bottom 6, and it's not all his fault. And I do think he's doing completely fine. And he's not the one that's been dropped for Dawson. It's been Nathan Collins, and he's not the one that's tried to saw Jack Grealish in half. That was Nathan Collins.
Look, that was a matter of personal principle. It's a completely different thing. Like Nathan Collins was just doing us all a solid and just letting Jack know that he made a bad decision. That's fine. It's okay. It's water under the bridge now. So
Now it's fine. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, let's go there. He's got more impact, obviously, than Konate because of the injury.
well,
So
here you go, because we can make this very interesting. Because Collins said, if Kilman's having a good season, I want to see Collins in the same tier. Him being dropped was unjustified. I agree with Colin for what it's worth, but obviously I agree with Colin. It's cousin Nathan. So the elements of this are there. I think Collins' season has been all right, if I'm being honest with you. I think it's been sharper than most. It was a step that he made, obviously up to Wolves. I think him being dropped was harsh as well. And I think that generally he's been mostly good. Yes, he's had a few like head in the clouds moments where people have obviously gone, oh, he got sent off in this game or he made a big mistake in another. Fine. But generally, I think the flat kind of line on it is that Collins has been absolutely grand. And I think he has so much like capacity to improve. I really like him.
where would you put Nathan Collins? Let's skip to him now.
Bottom of the having a good season tier. Or like there in the top. But I think that Collins absolutely right in that I don't think Kilman's had that much better of a season than Nathan Collins. And I think that's probably a fair point.
Yeah.
But then it seems mad to have someone in a tier above the person they've been dropped for.
Also agree.
Basically, I think what I'm going to do here is put Nathan Collins in here above Yerkim because I think he's better than Yerkim. And then I'm going to drop Max Kilman in here.
Look at that back five there. Wolves, Palace, Wolves. I was going to suggest before you did it, I was going to say maybe we need to move Kilman back down then and put these guys on a more level pegging.
I agree. I'm also putting Ben Davies back up. I feel like he's actually had a better season than all of these people. So I'm going to move Ben Davies into the category above. Right. Let's keep going. Chris Mepham at Bournemouth. Where are we? Where we put Chris Mepham?
That's the big question, isn't it? That's what the people here have waited 42 minutes to hear. Where are we putting Chris Mepham? I don't know. What do you think?
He's not young enough to be young with potential.
No.
So
I'm not like he's like right on the fence and fringe of Premier League quality, isn't he? And given Bournemouth's predicament, I'd be tempted to put him in the bottom tier. I don't
think he's Bournemouth's best centre back.
No.
But he is good. I think Senesi is a better player. I think this is harsh. I don't think Mepham has not been cutting it. I actually think that Bournemouth have potentially overperformed, if anything. And therefore, I'd be tempted to push him upwards.
Okay. Well, why don't you put him with Liam Cooper?
Yeah, I think that's absolutely right. I think it'd be harsh to put Cooper there and Worrell there and not put Mepham there.
And while you're at it, put Marcos Senesi in what's going on. Because I think he's underperformed.
There you
go. Yeah.
I really like Senesi. Obviously, we watched a lot of him at Feyenoord last season, the Conference League. We saw him live in that final. He was an absolute monster in so many ways. And we just haven't seen all that's necessary of him. But I think he's a better defender than both of the other Bournemouth defenders on this list. So it is quite tricky to kind of balance that out. Okay, Tyrone Mings. Weird year for Tyrone.
Always a weird year for Tyrone. I think he's actually having a good season. I'd put him at the bottom of the having a good season.
Okay. All right.
He's been more than solid. Villa cannot win a game without him. And he has cut down on his mistakes quite considerably.
Yeah, no,
I think if you were to draw up, like, people are shocked by this that don't watch Villa a lot, but based on what happened last season as well, and obviously in the summer he had the captaincy stripped off him and stuff by Steven Gerrard. Whole thing's been a bit of a mess, but he's been. If you were to draw up Villa's player of the season list, he's 1 or 2.
Okay, all right. Kate's put in a point here saying need a he's been okay tier. IMO 2 tiers are dominant too much. Would he's been okay be below solid?
Yes, it would.
Okay. I mean, we could think about this. We could add another tier. I have the capability to do this.
You have the power.
We could add one. Maybe we'll do it at the end.
Yeah,
we'll
we might have to split Solid in half at the end.
Okay, all right. If that comes to it, we'll split Solid in half towards the end. Right, let's go to Ethan Pinnock, who I think probably is not having as good a season as Ben Mee, but probably is somewhere in here.
Agreed. He's
Pinnock's
having a
fine.
good season.
Pinnock's fine. Is he better than Mings?
Probably better than Davies.
He's better than Konate?
Nah.
Okay. All right. Let's put him in there. Let's put him in there. I think that's about right. I like Ethan Pinnock a lot, and Brentford have been pretty good generally across the course of it. But this is where we're at. So he's fine. They're in the top of the table, then so is he. So here we go. Right, Christian Romero.
What's going on?
Yeah.
I think he's massively underperforming. And has been for most of the season.
But he's been better than... I actually think he must be top of it, because I think he's actually probably been better than Diaz and Matip.
Agreed. He's just... Yeah, he's... I mean, he got basically accused... Pre-World Cup, he just got accused of trying not to get injured for the World Cup. It was pretty obvious that he was carrying something, right? Because then in the first game of the World Cup, he ends up... Well, opening stages of the World Cup, he's in and out and he's injured and he's not quite there. He certainly found it at the end. He remains an absolute booking machine and capable of doing something crazy at any point. But 8 times out of 10, when he storms out and slides in, it's brilliant. 2 times out of 10, it's not. When you're not quite in form, when you play on the edge like that, it can go really badly. But I don't think you could ever claim really that Romero's had a season that he could his ability has lived up to what he can do. So he is a difficult one. He is another reason why we have this tier.
Yeah, no, I think this is fair. Right, William Saliba.
Yeah, definitely having a good season. And
the only question is where he is in this top 4 here, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's had a better season than Gabriel.
Do you?
I do. I genuinely do. I know that Gabriel's been better recently, but trying to remove the recency bias from my mind, I think he smoked almost everyone in this league for the first 10 weeks. He was unbelievable, and he's been very good or good ever since. So I would genuinely put him there. What do you think?
Yeah, I don't mind it. I think it's definitely the Arsenal centre backs in Botman and Lissandro who are clearly top of that bit. That's fine. There's a massive debate going on in the comments about Ibou Konate.
Yeah, he's a difficult one. What are they saying?
Well, we'll work our way through. Luke said, how has Konate got his way into good season? Tim said his last 2 performances were great. Frederick said Konate shouldn't even be on the list. That's not how this works.
Hang on. Hang on. Did I accidentally put him in without playing 10 games or something? Is that what that means?
I don't think so. I think he has played 10 games. But Luke says, but the whole season Liverpool have been a mess at the back. Hugo says Luke Konate has been good, just not enough matches. And Jacob says, and Konate has rarely been the issue. Konate has 5 Premier League appearances. Sam?
I might have made a mistake.
Right, out he goes. Goodbye.
Out he goes.
Sorry.
The debate. Sorry, everybody. I got you all worked up and debating over something that should never even have happened.
Fine. Right.
You can pretend I did it on purpose for comments if you want, but I'm just stupid.
Here we go. There we go. It's over. Konate's out. Good player though. And Liverpool are better when he's fit. Right. Let's go to Mohamed Salisu. Southampton have been dreadful, but
young with potential.
Yeah. More ahead or below Bella Kotchap. I really like Salisu.
I think that Salisu has not been as good as Bella Kotchap when he's played, but he's obviously had more of an impact. So how would you split that up?
Well, considering that category is about potential, which one of them do you think has the highest ceiling?
Bella Kotchap.
Right. Well, we'll leave it as is then. Right. Let's go to Joe Gomez. Can you just check if he's played 10 games?
Oh, yeah, that's a good point, actually.
Have you just put people in it? Look, I trust you to do the research for one thing. I don't do it myself, and suddenly everything's gone mad. Gone mad.
I was very careful with it until I got to Konate. Joe Gomez, 13 Premier League starts this season.
Right, so where's he going?
And this is Liverpool's travails. This is injury related, but it can't just be me. You're looking at Joe Gomez nowadays and just thinking, No, right? He's just not. Every time I see him, he's not doing well. He can't find his rhythm.
The only question I have is he a what's going on, or is he actually a not cutting it this season? That's the big discussion I'm having. He's been dreadful
Yeah.
of late.
Can we turn to crowd wisdom? Get some ideas. What's going on, or are we going to say he's not cutting it? He did recover from his injury quite a long time ago. It's like 18 months, right?
Yeah.
He just hasn't looked the same.
It's hard. It's a really tricky one. There's some weird ones. Cat Guy says below cock. Luke says what's going on. Oh, it's I think it's actually it. I think he's not cutting it. I think he's top. I think he's there. I don't think he's below Robin Cock, but I think he's there.
Yeah.
He really feels
bad.
like he never recovered, but that's literally where we're at right now.
If the injury was 6 months ago, he'd be in what's going on. But it was 18 months ago, wasn't it? It was always a while ago.
He's never looked like the same player, and that we're now at a point where it's actually quite comfortable, like quite uncomfortable. And that's a strange one. I don't think he's helped by the rest of the team, but equally, I think he hasn't been cutting it this season, and that's where we're at. Let's go to more positive news, which is Fabian Schär, who's definitely in here somewhere. I think he's probably there or there.
Yep, I'll go with that. Yeah, that's fine to me.
Yeah, Fabian Schär's really good player. Really like him. Solid, doesn't mess about. Having a good season. John Stones.
What's going on?
Where though? Here?
Yeah, below Diaz. Between Diaz and Matip.
Weird.
He does these. It's like for 6 months, John Stones is like arguably the best centre back in the Premier League, and then for the other 6 months, it's a complete shrug. I don't know if it's just like Pep changing his mind, natural fluctuations in form. Always there's a couple of injuries here and there with John Stones. There's a natural rotation at City. It's kind of hard to get your place back once you lose it.
Yeah.
And if you're not in the first choice defensive partnership, and case in point here is Ruben Dias, like suddenly life is very, very difficult for you. But yeah, I'd stick him in what's going on.
Okay. All right. Let's go to James Tarkowski, who screams solid at me. But
He's
then again,
solid player ever created.
But I don't think he's been that good because Everton haven't been that good. So I'm going to put him here under Clement Longley.
Yeah. He's been really good under Dyche, but it's only been 4 games. He, along with everybody else, was not good under Lampard. Mostly Lampard's fault. Has he had a better season than Eric Dyer? Probably not. Has he had a better season than Ezri Konsa? Probably not. Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Let's keep rolling. This is becoming quite a heavy list. And we go to Thiago Silva, who I think drops in here. It's just a question of whether he's left or right, but I think the answer is left.
Wholeheartedly agree. The world-class tier is sparse, as it should be. It's difficult to get in there. Thiago Silva spent the last 20 years proving to us that he is indeed worthy of it. He's out for 6 weeks, which kind of sucks because a lot of the time he feels like the only thing holding that Chelsea backline together. I was really enjoying the Badiashile partnership, which was broken up at the weekend anyway when Badiashile was dropped and then Silva was injured. So rest in peace to that. That was like 3 games. Yeah, Silva's definitely world class. He's the best Premier League centre back for me, and he's in the argument as best centre back in the world. He's in that conversation.
Okay. We've just got a comment that's made me start thinking. The Cat Guy said, "Where's Akanji?" He probably tops having a good season. So I think you've forgotten Akanji, which is an issue. 18 Premier League appearances. You just forgot it.
Sorry, Akanji. Did I put Konate instead of? Oh no, never mind. Right, leave that to the end. We might be able to add a player.
Right, Virgil van Dijk is top of the what's going on category, right?
Yeah. Although we do know. Do we know? We know what's going on.
Well, yeah, he's injured.
Yeah.
But it's impossible to put him anywhere else, right?
This isn't. Yeah, you just can't say he's having like a good season, and to put him as solid would be like genuinely very disrespectful. Right?
Yeah, I agree. It's definitely unfair. It doesn't look like he's come back fully from this injury. I think we're clear that Virgil van Dijk is a wonderful footballer, but right now we're not seeing it, and we haven't seen it really this season, and therefore, basically, since Alexander Mitrovic took him for a run around on a leash on day one, it's nutmegs, penalties given away. It was all over the place.
For those of you for those of you
players.
watching that wonder what it's like to like know Jack and speak to him on a daily basis and run a business with him, this is constant. You get 45 minutes into a serious conversation, and then he will make a reference to Mitrovic, like ruining someone's day, or Tim Ream being a world-class centre back. Like he fluctuates so badly from sane to insane. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, lots of fun. Right, let's finish this off. We've got 3 left. One of them is Kurt Zouma. Where's Kurt Zouma going?
He's definitely underperformed.
Yes,
he's definitely underperformed. He does not belong in the bottom tier. He could go with what's going on, although I think I can answer the question. If he's finding life tough on a personal level after what happened to him or what he did, I would not be remotely surprised, would you? Like, he's got stuff going on.
Frederick says Kurt Zouma isn't cutting it any season. Throw him out. I think he's been okay.
He was really good last season.
I think he's kind of been fine. He's not been that bad. I'd be tempted to put him bottom of solid seems fair, but like, is he having a better season than Liam Cooper? I'm just going to drop him in here next to Marcus Senesi, I think.
Yeah. Okay.
I think that seems like the fairest thing to do at this point.
I agree.
We'll
leave him there.
There's that, right, and leaves us with the Brighton boys.
Okay.
So where are we putting the Brighton boys?
I think we put both Veltman and Webdini in solid.
Webdini is just not a thing. Right, I'm going to put Veltman above Kilman. And I think I think it would be harsh not to put Webster in having a good season.
Okay.
So I'm going to do that.
It's called Webdini, but fine.
Yeah, I think that's it.
Are you able to add another player?
I actually fully don't know. So what we're going to do is you're going to walk us through some things. You're going to talk about the players that didn't make the list whilst I try and add another player to the list. That's what's going to happen here.
Okay. Who didn't make the list? Aymeric Laporte did not make the list. We're going to have to start doubting my counting skills now. But when I checked, if I remember correctly, he was on fewer than 10. I think he was on 9. And obviously, he's not been a massive part of City this season. That's been criticised in some parts, but I guess they're still doing okay. I don't know. Pep likes Akanji. Pep likes Ake. It's competitive in there. But Laporte hasn't been a massive part of City this season, so he's not there. Maguire obviously doesn't really get to play because we have world-class Varane and near the top of the tree having a good season, Lissandro. Same for Lindelof. And we've got 2 at Chelsea as well. We've got Badiashile, who I think, in terms of impact, has been fantastic and is having a very, very good start to his Chelsea career. Has played like 4 games. And Fofana, who sadly is getting a bit of a rep for being extremely injury prone. I really hope that now he's returned, he can turn a corner and get some momentum, because he has got one hell of a price tag to live up to. And he's had 2 pretty bad injuries in the last 2 years. So I do feel for him a bit there. But Chelsea now have an opportunity, I guess, with Thiago Silva out, to get him going. He should have a nice chemistry with Badiashile. At least the language should be good. French speaking. They've probably played together at under 21 level for France. In fact, I'm sure they have. So they probably have a pre-existing relationship. It's something to keep an eye on.
Okay. All right. Well, I've managed to add Manuel Akanji in, so that's good. Where is Manuel Akanji going? Has he had a better season than Nathan Ake?
I think Akanji was City's best defender for like 2 to 3 months. And then it started to slope off a bit. And I think he had some real Akanji moments in the World Cup. And I just don't think he's been as convincing since. I don't think he's been better than Ake. Okay. What do you think?
No, I think it's a toss-up between them, if I'm perfectly honest with you. I don't think there's been much between them. Obviously, Arce's played a lot of left back, which is a thing.
And Kante played a bit of right
And
back before the World Cup.
that is true. And there was a good question from Daniel who said, has Luke Shaw played enough games at centre back to qualify? I think it's a fair question. Like, I think it's a fair question. I'm not going to knock it. But I think Luke Shaw is a left back playing centre back, whereas I think that Arce is a centre back playing left back.
Yeah,
if
no,
that makes sense. That's the basic rules for it. So
it is a fair question. But I didn't want to put Luke Shaw in this list because I don't like thinking about him as a centre back, but he has been very good there. But yeah, the answer is probably no. He probably hasn't played 10 in the league at centre back, but he probably has played 5 or 6, right?
Yeah, I think very much so. So
right.
There we have it. There's I'm trying to.
Do you want to cut Solid in half, or is that okay?
I think we're fine. We're pretty much over an hour here, so I think it's probably a lot. I don't think Tosin Adarabioyo has got 10 appearances. I think he's got 9. To answer Tim Bamford's question. But if Tosin was in here, I think he would be in Solid for what it's worth. But I did like that. This is a good question from Luke, though, while we're doing good questions. So with the tier list done, if you had to pick the Premier League team of the season right now, who are the 2 centre-backs you would pick? Because would they be Thiago Silva and Rafael Varane? I don't think they would.
Well, it would definitely be Silva, but I think you would have to pair him with an Arsenal player. What do you think?
Yeah. I would pair him with Gabriel. You said you would pair him with Saliba in that regard. That's fine. They're okay. But I think it would be an Arsenal player. And yes, I think Thiago Silva has been excellent.
Yeah, Silva's been.
Although I think Botman would be. I think Botman would feel hard done by to miss out, and that would be a fair. I think he would feel fairly frustrated. Tosin has 12 starts. There you go.
I'll stick him in.
Tosin goes in Solid. There you go. That's an answer.
There you go. There you go. You need to vet these selections next time, Jack.
Yeah, next time I'm going to have to do the work. I do apologize for Sam's incompetence. This is what happens when I have other things to do, doing all the podcasts, recording them, editing them, getting them out. I left him with one job and he has done about 3/4 of it. So that's incredibly useful. Daniel says best centre-back pairing this season. I mean, look, there's 3 here that you can look at that stand out, aren't there? There's the Arsenal pair, top of that, having a good season. There's the United pair, who are one of each, and there's the Newcastle pair, who are just slightly further down the list. They're the 3 standout centre back partnerships.
Yeah, I like in this scenario. I like to go with the 2 that have obviously like put in the most time together. If it's a partnership, if it's a pairing.
Correct,
so I would probably then discount the Man United pair because Lissandro's kind of come in and out. Varane has 2. That's why we're talking about Luke Shaw, stepping in. So I'd put it between the Arsenal boys and the Newcastle boys, and I think I'd shade Arsenal. And I think the graphic kind of reflects that. But I think either of those 2 are great.
Yeah, I'd agree. I also want to finish with this lovely comment from Cat Guy, who says, all in all, I think you guys did a splendid job with the tier list. Very hard to argue with your selections. I'm sure that people will. Please do. If you're watching back and you're not watching us live, please do let us know in the comments what you thought about our reasoning as opposed to the actual tiers, if you will. I don't mind you disagreeing with that. I just want to know why. So that's the trick. If you're in the comments, let us know what you think in that regard. But with that, I think it's probably time for us to call it a day. We're going to leave you with a full view of that tier list. I've been Jack Collins. All that's left for me to do is say thank you very much to all of you for watching and joining in. We've had a lot of fun here in this comment section. Thank you very much to Mr. Sam Tyler, Rank God.
Despite my counting, despite my selection,
despite your selections, you have still done some work. So I will say thank you.
Can I come on the next one, or am I banned?
Depends if you actually do. We'll see what we want. See what we want next week. Do you want goalkeepers? Do you want strikers? Let us know in the comments, and we'll see if we can get that done as we go through the week. Next week, we'll have lots of fun with it. Thank you for watching, guys. Take it easy. Peace.